Yeah, it is. Because
Booyah.
that's what we do. We always
Show
record.
about that progress.
And Pam Mills is there. I see Pam Mills. Hi, Pam.
Mmm. Yay, it's my
Jump,
mommy.
jumping on. Hopefully you can hear me. I see David Eyes. What up, David? Hi. You are muted, David. Hello, 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 hello. And because of technical stuff that we were working on beforehand, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Um, Mariah, you cannot. Can I get a thumbs up if you can hear me? No. No. Mariah, Tiffany can hear me. Pam, can you
And
hear?
Pam hears you.
Yeah. Okay. Mm, and Bryce had to bounce to the other room because we couldn't be in the same room because our his microphone was picking me up wherever he was, and it was just what we call not working. David and Mariah, can you hear you now? Can you hear us? Can you hear us now? Okay. Well, let's do this. I am going to launch into the next conversation piece, and it is going to be, oh, Bryce. So where were we? So what we were talking about was next was I think we were going to segue into sex.
Let's do that.
Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex, and let's talk about sacred sexuality. And you do a lot of men's work, so it's probably going to mostly be in the context of that, and sacred sexuality and other things that men are somehow terrified to talk about.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that you get to, in your work, you actually get to hear a lot of that. So can you kind of, I mean, for me, I would say that s- growing up in the 70s and 80s and 90s, that sex is the expectations of our attitude about sex as men was completely last century. I mean, it was so bad. We're just supposed to want to fuck everyone, first of all, and that men had no boundaries. There was no availability for men to have needs, preferences. They're just, we're just supposed to be sex machines, and that's just all. Um, but anyway, give me your perspective on this topic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel you on that. Let me close this door. And I think that the contour, the texture or contour to men connecting with their bodies in dynamic ways is newer ways of thinking. And so I think that that is part of what I'm witnessing now. And what I've noticed in this kind of new time where there's lots of new awarenesses and all these ways that uh, the ways that things are being held, there's a what I see men doing oftentimes, the ones that are vocal, are teaching mastery over their sexual body, and they're these like sexual kung fu and these Taoist practices, these old practices that are being brought through, and I think that that is lovely, and can be really potent and powerful, and that is a component. But the thing that I find missing is, and I'm creating spaces for in some of my councils and so on, is just simply talking about sex, about how it's been, experiences that have been had that maybe were really exciting or really confusing or really inconsistent. Having different partners that gave totally different feedback from different behaviors, right? Like, um, having a really like aggressive approach and having that be really scary, or not being aggressive and that being really perceived as weak or soft. And so, and so many, it's so formative. Our sexual experiences when we're young are so formative, as much as there's so much shame in broad strokes. There's so much shame wrapped up with women's early sexual experiences, and so much glorification wrapped up in early men's sexual experiences, that there are these kind of assumptions that are afoot. But there's all kinds of things that can happen early on that are usually not explored very much with men, because any kind of sex is a good thing, in quotes. And so just be pleased that you had access to a female body, and move on. And so it's holding space for that I find really important and invigorating and exciting and uncommon. It's honestly, it's similar to what I find with the death work that Tiffany and I do. A very simple prompt of how is death showing up in your life has an outpouring of all kinds of things. And when I prompt a bunch of men, when I say sex, what comes up for you around that? There's a huge outpouring of all kinds of different things. It's always like, gosh, 3 hours isn't long enough to cover this. It's like, great, cool. So why isn't this shared? And because it's also about set and setting, right? Because we said we're not doing this over beers with anyone to posture for. It's in a sacred space. It's confidential, and also being entreed and introduced as a sacred space, meaning, excuse me, that it is not, there's a viscosity to the space that is unlike a casual chatting space that is rife, that is available for insecurity and posturing. This is a space where we have honesty and confidentiality as really highly held standards. And so then the real can come out, the opening can open, and then the real can come out. And simple proposal. And I offer it to any group of men that want to just simply open it up. And it doesn't have to be with other men necessarily, but simply touching in with some of the experiences, and see what might be there that has been underexplored.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a super valuable thing. One of the things that I always think of about my younger years, and if I could, go back and say something to myself at, 16 or 15 when I started, um, is about actually consumption of energy. And I started leaning into this idea a long time ago about the food that you eat, and the news that you watch or don't watch, and the movies, and what all of that input is doing to you, and the people that you talk to. Well, holy crap, your sexual partners, that is one of the most intense energetic consumptions that you can do. And it makes it very important to choose well. And when I was 19, I was just like, I'm not choosing. I felt like a beggar, not a chooser, and
Mm.
had uh, no criteria
Yeah, yeah.
other than fun to look at, and that was about it. But and so what we end up doing is we end up, especially now, I mean, the degree of promiscuity in, admitted, I hear this from millennials. They tell me, I've heard many times, oh, we'll have sex with anyone. My generation. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I hear. Um, that there's no honoring what that actually is doing to you from an energetic perspective. And by the way, I totally feel like people should have sex with whoever they want to have sex with, but understand what the impact is, and that you're
Mhm.
really letting someone have a massive impact energetically on your field. And so
Yeah,
that was, I
yeah,
mean, that
and
was something that came through for me in my 40s, and I went, oh, right. And and that allowed me to then not only make better decisions about the type of energy that I let
Right.
into my field, but it also allowed me to start having true, deep, soul-connected sex. And then the quality of my sex life went,
Mhm.
exponential from there.
Yeah. Yeah. And holding that sharing and consumption of energy, and that flow back and forth of energy, being for all bodies, right? Those as a in a male body, I have a sexual organs for penetration, and so I think of it going that direction, and I think that is common. I think that is part of what leads to the misunderstanding and the disregard of it, and the sex machine in this that you referred to earlier, is that is uh, easy to discount as a penetrative being. And there was another piece there. What was it you said? Oh yeah, the millennials and these uh, people who've grown up with technology in their hands, of phones and so on, devices, divisive division. Wow, that's right there, isn't it? So these devices, being the the processed sugar version of connection, right?
Mm,
It's this empty makeup, uh, um, uh, 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 created uh, technological version of connection that doesn't actually connect in the way that I'm referring to.
mm,
And so there's something funky going on there with that being the connection. And I'm hearing these reports of young ones just sort of like only having one night stands, like only having sex once, and then they don't ever talk again. And then all of the like social behavior is through devices and so on. I mean, of course, not all of it. They are still in school and they still are breathing and out in their world, but this kind of separation of connection and sex going pretty far. Like the
mm.
device is pushing that even further, I feel like.
Yeah, that's very possible. And I think all this is is a kind of a discussion against the backdrop of sex roles, of the
Mm-hmm.
masculine sex role and the feminine sex role in our society. And of course, this is you work with this a lot, um, and so I want to kind of talk about that and segue into masculine alchemy and what that means to you. Um, and I think it's probably in the context of those sex, not sex roles, but gender roles in our society, and the power, the balance of the masculine and the feminine, and the out of balance that we've been. And I'm hoping that you can touch a little bit on um, your feeling about this movement that we've been witnessing for a couple of decades now. That isn't that it's not feminism. It's a call for the resurfacing of the sacred feminine. But I think in a lot of circles, it feels like it's at the expense of the masculine versus to bring back into balance, but more to swing the pendulum. What do you think about that?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, taking that piece, I feel like that it is a call. I feel like the organism is calling for nurture, is essentially the broad stroke I'll give it, for the tear it down, build a bigger, plow it under, control it, and dominate it being the natural world. I feel like that we've run out of space and resources to and reason to do that as much. And so I feel like at this point, with the amount of resources that we currently have, that the call for nurturing what we have and maintaining what we have is more to the point. And that is, and I feel like the rise of the feminine, and also um, honoring the one true portal into this dimension that we have, which is the birth canal, where we all come through. And so celebrating the bodies that have that miraculous uh, magic inside them, keeping that, honoring that, the perspective that comes from those who carry children and bring children to the world, and hearing what is to be said from that perspective. It's a different brain chemistry, a different body mechanism, lots of different things that are afoot. And so I think that there is a balance that is really wanting to be sought. And I think that a lot of what we are experiencing in the Me Too movement, which I refer to as the purge of the lascivious, and this like canceling of a lot of the toxic masculinity, and these pendulums swinging to because women are fucking pissed. And so we want to shut it down, and I get it. I get it. There are large parts of what I see men doing and having a tendency toward, and have habitually grown over decades, of uninitiated men, meaning men who have not had to go through something so difficult and then be so fully supported by their tribe, their community, when they return, to bring them to manhood. There are these man boys, these grown bodies with boyish tendencies. And so there's so much prove it. Please, 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 mom, pay attention to me and approve of my behavior. Please, dad, just see me, is underneath so many of these destructive tendencies. And so that's what I really see in this like rise of the feminine, as a lot of people are calling it, is just slow down, take it easy, and assure yourself, for fuck's sake. And so balance and nurturing, I think, is the call as we dwindle resources, and see the possibility. It's always there, but really, like, extinction really feeling, to me at least, as like, holy shit, I wonder if we'll just snuff ourselves out with this kind of continuation. And tracking back to where we began the conversation, I don't want to go too much into that and cast too many spells in that direction. However, that is why I believe that nurturing is becoming so important, of being much more mindful of our consumption and our waste production.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, it's a big question.
Yeah, it is. It's a deep topic. I want to say to the people on the call that if you have we got a small call, so if you have any comments or questions, jump on in at any time. We are going to shift and talk about uncentering the self, because that was a topic that you brought up, and I know that it's a lot of the work that you've been doing personally and that you do with other people. And so you kind of introduce that yourself and kind of walk us through what you're thinking on that.
Yeah. There are so many ways that this wisdom is helpful, and let's see, where do I begin? So there was a wisdom that was given to me in graduate school by Scott Miller, and he said the center of the universe is a very crowded place. And so that tells me that everyone is at the center of their own story. I did it. It's my fault. I have to fix it. It wouldn't be happening if it weren't for me, so on and so forth. And so I feel like that often in a feminine persuasion, it's, oh fuck, it's my fault, and I have to manage it. I have to fix it. I have to take care of everyone around this thing that has happened. And in a more masculine persuasion, I'm saying feminine and masculine very intentionally, because it happens in we all carry masculine and feminine, as we know, and so it can happen in any kind of body. But the masculine tendency is let's see, what is that one? It's happening to me, or yeah, it's often a blame, or like, fuck you, you're doing this to me. And it's a big problem that is happening to me, or some version of this. So the kind of the notion is, and let me start with a really useful application of it. So if I am if I do something or say something very upsetting to my partner, she's upset about what has happened or what I've said, and she brings it to me, I can get upset about that she's upset and explain to her how wrong she is about what I meant or what I said, and defend myself.
Hmm.
Or I can uncenter myself and hold space for her upset, because it isn't about me, it's about her. She's upset. And so that simple twist of just getting the fuck out of the middle of it, not in a way of like, I don't know, not my deal. I just ran over that dog, not my deal. Uh, but allowing the self to be observer of the situation, and then be there for it, knowing that later on, I'll with maybe with my partner later, I'll be able to talk through my side of it. But it's not what's happening right now. Right now, she's upset, and that's what I get to be here for. And so the uncentering of the self is yeah. So it can be in all kinds of ways, right? It's like also, oh my God, what do I do about this news that I just read? Oh my God, I've got to go to Israel right now because I've got to fix it. And it isn't that. It isn't that. It maybe if there's some way I can contribute to something that is happening over there that really feels like my calling, and I can really affect some influence on the people that I know and the small bit that I understand. But probably I'm just in alarm mode because it's in my universe. And shit, man, if I don't do something, no one will.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that broadening of it because a lot of what you were talking about sounds like one of the one of the Toltec for the four agreements, and that is don't take anything personally.
Mm,
Meaning it's not about you. It's all of the things.
yeah.
Even if someone comes up and insults you to your face and assures you very clearly and unequivocally that it is about you, it's not about you. It's
It's
their
like, man, you
thing.
are really upset. How can I help you?
No, it is about you, whatever, but it's not.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own thing going on, and whether it's uh, someone coming up and wanting to do you harm, or whether it's someone telling you how awesome you are,
Mm,
it's don't take it personally.
that's it. For
It's
there's a
really the
thousand people behind me, right?
uh-huh.
That you are seeing and speaking to, the people that have wronged you, that are people that you are idolizing, and all these pieces.
Right,
I get to be a mirror or a gateway to those people, but I'm not that.
right,
That thank you for the praise, and woof, I hear you on the upset. How can I help? How can I
right,
serve you?
right. And who was it? I forget what his name was. It said that you'll be less concerned about what people think about you when you realize how seldom they do.
Yes, yes, yeah. And
But
the way it was
it's
put very concisely on a pin on a shirt once, it said, "Rest assured, no one gives a shit."
no, it's just like like it's. I know you're your own protagonist as well. You should be, but
Indeed,
everyone else is their own as well. And
that's right.
the world is reflecting back to you what you are inside, but also a lot of people are walking around blaring out what they are inside, right? And
Yeah,
that's what we experience as we encounter people as we go through life.
mm, indeed.
But I love how you broaden it out even further to, look at the world around you. Look at all the things that are going wrong. You gonna fix them all? You gonna get spun up on all of them? It
Mm,
don't. It will destroy you.
indeed.
If you're really moved to do something, you got to choose with your time. There's a million things wrong with the world. I'm going to go donate to this, and I'm going to go march with that, and I'm going to go volunteer for this and that, but then what all of the other things? And it's a never-ending sea of stuff. So, pick your pick your things that you want to work on and let the rest go.
Mm,
It's not your responsibility.
yeah. And you're not alone. Not alone in it being fixed or not, right? The right use of life force energy into asserting any kind of influence at all, which can be really standing up and making a stand against something that feels really unjust, and
Hmm.
it can be blooming the woman at the checkout at the grocery store and just being like, "Hey, I see you. Thanks for doing this. You don't have to put my shit in the bag. I'll do that. Thank you. I really
Yeah.
appreciate you."
Yeah.
And that has it, because it all goes further. It takes the pollution or the pollination goes with and continues to billow pollen or pollution.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. And, and that's, you know, obviously that's a skill set that you've cultivated,
Hmm.
but it happens all over the world. People are kind. I mean,
Hey,
people are kind, people are good, people are generous, people are awesome, people want to help.
yeah, yeah.
And there's three assholes, but everyone else,
And they get a lot of stage time. It's really, really, really intense to deal with polluters. It's so intense
yeah, well,
for me.
and
Speak for
you know,
myself.
because of our, I guess, training, I would say propensity, but I want to call it training because I think it isn't necessarily human nature,
Mm,
but we've been trained to pay attention to the bad shit and call out the
sure.
bad shit and talk about the bad shit because, you know, a war is way more dramatic than, you know, a peacetime and the flowers blooming and stuff like that. Um, People being kind and
Mm,
helping each other with build a village or whatever. I mean, it's just, um, but all of that other stuff, the good stuff, is happening way more than the bad stuff. Way more than
mm-hmm.
think about your you know anyone who is walking around going, oh my God, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So everyone's bad. Yeah, yeah, everyone's like, you can't trust people. I hear people, I have family members say, oh, you can't trust people. People are bad. People are they say things that are kind of general and sweeping like that. And I say, well, okay, wait a minute. So, of all the people that you know personally, how many of them are evil people?
Mm,
Well,
right.
even the people who have, you know, who are pretty dark and pretty pessimistic and don't really like people, they're hard pressed to name very many people that they know that they know well enough to make the assessment
Right.
that are evil. And
Yeah.
those people can usually name a few people, but they don't have very many people. I mean, in
Mm-hmm.
the 200 people that they know personally well enough, they can name two or three.
And like you say, the people who they name can probably name more, right?
Yeah,
Because the polluters like to hang out with each other as well.
yeah.
But
The rest of us are hard pressed to name anyone who's evil. And
well,
so
and even that, it's like
who are all
what
these
a
evil people?
hilarious proposal, right? It's just like there aren't evil people in my
Right.
assessment. It is because tracking back to the very beginning of this conversation, there's some kind of love underneath their behaviors, and a wound and a broken a disconnection, and a pain, a deep pain, and probably some brain chemicals that are a little funky, and so there is a desire to connect in some way, and it gets really, really distorted and really, really far from what we recognize as consensus reality patrons. But it is, as Tiffany wrote in the chat, the human kindness, human nature is, what did you say? That is the human nature is kindness and being helpful. Like that is the nature, not necessarily that we're definitely going to have war and there's bloodlust in our bones. It's just like, I mean, maybe we've been doing that shit for a long time, and there's some kind of thing that is exciting about destruction, especially with distorted masculine and men that are out of alignment being given a lot of money, resources, and sway. and doing what they say. So, if hell's going to, if we're all going to hell in a handbasket, someone made that handbasket.
Well, and if what you say is true, and by observation, I would say it is that there's a current of love underneath everything, then that also helps with with having compassion. And Katie and I were talking about this the other day. Having compassion for the victims of a horrible thing, that's easy to do. Having compassion for the perpetrator of that horrible thing is a lot harder to do. But if you understand two things, one is that the breadth of human experience is within you. You are the
That's
sinner
right.
and the saint. You are the Christ and the Hitler. You are the mass
Yeah.
murderer and the consummate lover. And if you can't see that, then there's some introspection work to be done. But the fact is it's all there inside of all of us. And the second part of it is that if you realize that that can help with compassion. And the other thing that can help is what you're talking about, which is that there's a love behind that. If you go to what happened in Israel and realize that the people who had their lives disrupted, ended, taken, tortured, whatever happened there to them, that's easy to have compassion for them. But the people who did that to them are living in hell.
Mm.
They have their life has been so twisted that they believe with all of their heart that what they're doing is right, and they're doing it for a reason of love. They want to take care of their family. They think they're misguided, thinking that the path to their family being safe is going and murdering some people, right?
Mm.
But then
Right.
even further, you go to the puppet masters who actually set it all up. It's definitely not the guys on the ground with the guns. They didn't set it up. This was orchestrated at a very high level from crossed different power structures that will put something like that together. And having compassion for someone like that is even harder. But imagine how fucking horrible their life is, that they think that the answer is some sort of genocidal situation or war. I mean that.
Right. Because I would say that compassion is the passive aspect, and then curiosity is the action that comes from compassion, right? Seeking uh, I mean, accountability, sure, but really seeking why is my favorite digging tool. And so it is why what's under there, what is the driving force that and what is it that you've convinced yourself of, because I promise it's sound in within the distortion. It's probably a really, really well thought through sound something that is trackable back to a really sound logic,
Mm-hmm.
and probably very cognitive, and ultimately is probably to protect or defend loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so the the distancing that is made possible when we don't see the impact, like you say, those in the that are removed from the they got no mud on their boots, those are who are far from it in any example, whether it be a corporation that has lost its humanity or a war machine. um, um, when the distance is made, then the desire, the accountability, the impact is no longer witnessed and seen. Oh, my effect, because that connection is severed somehow, because I'm insulated by people who are below me in the structure, or lawyers or something, and so I don't see how the or even just a weapon or a piece of technology that I'm interfacing with instead of directly with someone. Then my impact on that person is not felt or quite seen and understood by me, and so then it gets easier and easier to make extractive decisions. because it's like, it's fine. It's those, they're not really that important. There's a whole cluster of them over there, and they're pretty poor or whatever. And so
Mhm.
then their value drops, and then the felt experience of the human connection is no longer the deciding factor. It's whatever else is being worshipped, money or God or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's getting a little out there, but that is the part of what comes up for me when you speak of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that insight. I think it's spot on. Um, so hey, well, we've gone over the hour, and I think that's fine. But I do want to make sure that I ask you if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that?
So Instagram, I am occasionally on. You can at least send me a message there. It's Bryce Gill with 3 underscores between Bryce and Gill, BRYCEGILL. And we have a website that is currently being modified and made super snazzy and is
Mm.
still reachable. And it is aspengrove.love, because .com is still last season, don't you find?
It's aspengrove.love.
Aspengrove.love. Aspen as in the tree, and grove as in the grove of said tree.
Yeah,
Love.
that's beautiful.
And that's probably the best ways. Yep.
Yeah. The last question I have for you, Bryce, is what do you have going on? What's coming up for you? What are you
Mm,
excited about? What are you working on?
yeah, yum. So lots of kind of background projects that are going on. I have 20 outlines for chapters of a book that I'm writing, as well as those will also parlay into a some kind of program, some kind of offering for people to take what has come through my capacity and into words, and see if it has any benefit to their life and experience. And Tiff and I are working on a line of hilarious, wonderful, and insightful T-shirts that will
Hmm.
be available in a digital store near you, which is everyone, always near you. And we have some Sacred Sons events coming down the pipeline, an immersion coming up in Portland, and then an EMX in Washington in May. The immersion is in March, later this month. And
When's
then
EMX?
EMX is May 9 to 12. And
What is an
what
EMX?
is EMX? EMX is the Sacred Sons initiatory experience. It is embodied masculine experience, is what EMX stands for. It's 3.5 days in the woods, delicious food, some kind of wild atmosphere and setting, that is, and deep connection, brotherhood, powerful experiences, and magic, lots of magic.
Yeah.
And then Brotherhood of Cascadia is an entity that I created with some brothers in this specific region. We have Emergence 2, the sequel, and it is a similar. It is a shape similar to an EMX. It's 3.5 days. Sorry, 2.5 days. 3.5. Thursday to Sunday, and it is in Eugene, Oregon, and that'll be happening in late July,
Right
and then
on.
lots of fun stuff in between. Yeah, we
Good
cooking.
stuff. Yeah. Keep cooking, baby. I love
Yep.
it. All
Me
right.
too.
Bryce, thank you for being on the show. This has been a kick in the pants and a whole lot of fun.
Yes,
I appreciate you and I love you very much.
love you too, brother. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys. Bye bye.
Bye.